Today actually marks 1 month since the start of the Hermit's Peak fire near Las Vegas, New Mexico. And while firefighters are doing everything they can to contain this, we cannot forget this tragedy started as a prescribed burn. And many families who evacuated or have lost their homes are angry, and they are demanding some accountability here. And many of you have been asking whether the U.S. Forest Service could be held liable for any of this because of that prescribed burn. So joining us now with some better insight is UNM Professor of Law Carol Suzuki. Professor Suzuki, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your knowledge on this area. You know, the Forest Service has said they did everything by the book with this prescribed burn, but a lot of people are wondering if they could still face liability since it got out of control and led to a wildfire. I mean, what sort of case do victims have since the fire started as a prescribed burn here?
Let me start out by saying I am so sorry for the losses suffered by the Hermit's Peak and the Calf Canyon fires. A prescribed burn is a deliberately set fire that is designed to promote restoration of an ecosystem. It should avoid larger and catastrophic fires by providing nutrients to the soil and sunlight. A prescribed burn that is appropriately conducted would promote a new and restored ecosystem and wildlife habitat. Considerations for the U.S. Forest Service in terms of doing a prescribed burn would include the weather forecast, the wind, including its speed and its direction, what resources are available to control the fire, including staffing that is available, and what staffing is accessible. Also, what is the humidity or the moisture in the air at the time that the prescribed fire is being set. A suit would actually likely be a suit in tort or civil wrong as opposed to a criminal act, where the damages or the relief that the injured parties are seeking are monetary damages for loss of property, life, any illness, physical or mental illness that's due to the prescribed burn, any loss of livelihood. Regarding the U.S. Forest Service, a claim in tort will likely be under the Federal Tort Claims Act. And so an issue may arise because the U.S. Forest Service is an agency of the federal government about whether there is governmental immunity in this suit under the Federal Tort Claims Act. So the U.S. Forest Service may say that in conducting the prescribed burn, it was performing a discretionary act, an act that it did not have to do, but once it did conduct the burn, it was following public policy such that the injured parties are banned from suing the U.S. Forest Service.
Professor Suzuki, a follow-up to that is we know that the Hermit's Peak started as a prescribed burn. The Calf Canyon, the cause of that is still under investigation, but because those two fires have now joined, to kind of put on, I guess, your defense attorney hat here, could there be an argument made that, you know, how do you prove that the prescribed burn part of this fire is responsible for a loss versus the yet to be determined caused fire? Could that be brought up?
Yes, I think definitely that would be a defense that the U.S. Forest Service would consider raising, that the injured parties cannot prove that the Hermit's Peak fire, which was a prescribed burn which got out of control, is the actual cause of the damages to the injured parties. Also, I think the U.S. Forest Service might consider making a claim that although it might have started the controlled burn that got out of control, the Calf Canyon fire would have caused the damages anyway, such that the U.S. Forest Service should not be to blame. I think there's also a challenge because there are two fires that came together about how does one apportion the damages between those two or even more defendants once this case is brought into court. I think also if the Calf Canyon fire cause remains undetermined, the U.S. Forest Service may say that it should not be held to blame for all of the fire, considering that there is another fire that was caused by an unknown person or entity.
Well, Professor Suzuki, we appreciate your insight into what is just starting to be the search for some accountability and some help for all the New Mexicans impacted. We hope to have you back again as we continue through this journey. Thank you.